It is 2:01 and we have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to jump right in and get going on this thing today. So first and foremost, please mute your cameras and your microphones if you're on the call, if you haven't already. We'll be having questions at the end. And if you have questions for today's webinar, please put them in the chat and we will address them at the end of today's webinar. So hello, everybody, and welcome to WSI's Automate the Boring. Today, we're going to learn how to easily build no-code AI assistants. And this webinar today is for people who have certainly used ChatGPT. Maybe you're even a power user of ChatGPT. You use it every day for various tasks. Maybe you've used Google Notebook. You found other AI tools like Claude or maybe video generators out there that you really enjoy, or maybe you're using AI within certain Microsoft systems. Either way, if you're using just basic AI tools to kind of put in a prompt and get results back, today's webinar is certainly for you because we are going to level you up as far as skills go. Today, we're going to build tools that HR teams and pretty much any team, no matter what profession you are in, can use right away with little or no tech background. So if you don't know who I am, welcome to our WSI webinar. My name is Mark Keady. I work here in our corporate support office doing digital marketing, content creation, and AI integration. I try to keep up with all the AI news, and it is always a lot. It is always overwhelming, but we've been really excited here at WSI to provide these webinars every couple of months to sort of help you continue to grow as the workforce is evolving, and of course, certainly as technology is evolving at a lightning pace. So today, some of the things we're going to build, we're going to jump into the first assistant we ever built and show you how it was done with our company handbook assistant. We're also going today to construct an exit interview pattern assistant. Our company, the ABC company, just has turnover every month. We want to know why people are leaving our company, see if we can spot any patterns in the data. We also have a new insurance carrier for our company for 2026, but different plans on that carrier, and different plans could mean different things depending on your situation, dependence, health concerns, and so much more. So we're going to build an employee benefits comparison analyzer. And finally today, we're going to show you how to create your very own dashboards from spreadsheets. We're going to do it in Google Sheets today, but the principle can be applied across many different programs as well. And that one's going to get a little into the weeds. So if it gets a little overwhelming by the time we get to the end of it, don't worry. The big thing we want to work on today is just having you understand how this process works so you can get out and explore and be adventurous and find ways for you to build these tools yourselves, because these tools may be useful to you. Maybe they won't be, but hopefully at the end of the day, like I said, you'll understand how to build them. So your mind will get working, thinking of ways that you can build tools to help ease your workflow, help your operation, and so much more. So let's jump in. Today, we're going to talk about assistants, and you might be hearing the term AI agents a lot, or agentic AI. We'll show you what agents are, but there's a difference between assistants and agents. And to explain the difference for you, we'll jump into that. First of all, of course, you're familiar with what we use every day, traditional LLMs, things that are large language models like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic's, Claude, Grok, all these programs that we use. They're the large language models. We prompt in, it can come back with codes, it can come back with answers, it can come back with a variety of different things, images, and so much more. But assistance is like a GPT configured product, right? It has a fixed set of instructions. It performs a task, almost like an app on your phone, right? It interacts with users. It can ask you follow-up questions, understand context, provide guidance, and be conversational with you as well. And this is important. What we're going to build today are going to be confined within the scopes of their respective programs, whether it be Google or whether it be ChatGPT. You can move these tools out, but it does get a lot more complicated into the weeds, and we're not going to go there just yet. But the idea is that you can have them in ChatGPT and you can share them with your team as well. As far as agents go, agents are much more thought independent, right? An agent is an AI driven by a backbone that can do all kinds of things. Think about the agent sitting in the middle, or like Jarvis, maybe in the Avengers movies, right? It has all these tools available to it to use to complete a task or to perform many different tasks, and it can reach out autonomously with its own independent thought and grab those tools and perform tasks. And agents are really that high end level of AI that if you're on this call, you probably, it's definitely way down the road for us, but I want to at least show you a few things today that may kind of get you inspired and make you understand that being able to construct all of this isn't that far off for any of us, no matter how technical you are. So today, let's build our first assistant. the employee handbook chatbot. As always, we have a scenario. We here in HR keep getting employees coming up to our door and just kind of knocking on the door frame. You may be familiar with that, and they got a question about how benefits work or PTO or whatever policy may be within a company. We're kind of getting asked the same questions all the time, and of course, we're very courteous. We stop and we answer the question and take our time as we need to. But we really want to cut down the visits to our office. We want to cut down the emails that are coming in with a lot of the same questions. So we want to build an assistant that users can log on to and get the answer without coming to our door or emailing us. So as we jump into this chatbot today, we got a couple of things to do. First, I want to talk about why would we build something like this, right? Well, it solves a couple of problems at once. First of all, it gives policy access and it puts everybody on the same page. It doesn't matter whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your employees can find consistent answers, right? Which is really cool. And then and I always say this as somebody who's always constantly knocking on HR's door asking questions that I probably should know the answer to, right? But it also scales. You think about this. Instead of you having to answer every question for all of your employees, it's almost like having 50 people do the work for you. So it's going to save time and ensures consistent response. And if we ever decide to update the handbook, the cool thing is we can just change our assistant's knowledge base and automatically it's updated. We don't have to go chase down, old PDFs or figure out where things are stored on drives, trying to fix everything. So the way this works is we jump in. Listen, most of these major LLMs now all kind of do this, right? OpenAI and ChatGPT were the first, but Google does it, Perplexity, Grok, Claude AI, they all kind of do them. Some are a little different, but for the most part, the rules are pretty universal. So today we're going to build one in ChatGPT, and then we're going to build one in Gemini to show you how it's pretty much the same process. But the idea is we are going to train our model. If you caught our Google Notebook LM webinar a few months back, that's kind of what we were doing with Google Notebook. We tell it the information that it can search and learn from. It doesn't go out and find it randomly. We tell it what it needs to know. So we're going to train the model with a PDF of our handbook. We're going to instruct it to maybe come up with different scenarios, or maybe it can generate quizzes or training if we need to. And then we're going to show you how to share that handbook with your team. So you could just email out a link and people could just log on to ChatGPT, whether it's paid or free, and actually use the tool. So before we do jump in, that does remind me, most all of the features that we're going to show you today are certainly from a paid ChatGPT subscription. And if you're using ChatGPT every day, this is really the time for you to upgrade. I know we've talked about it several times, but the paid version is the difference between driving, and the free version is the difference between driving like a 1982 beat up Honda Civic and driving a 2025 Ford F-150 Raptor, right? Like it is just night and day difference between the size of the models and the ways that they handle different things. And so those free versions certainly give you limited access to some of these premium models. So we're going to start off today in OpenAI and ChatGPT, and then we're calling them assistants because that's a universal term, but in ChatGPT they're actually called GPTs. So let's and then of course in Gemini they're called gems. So as you see my screen here, I'm going to bump over to ChatGPT. Now, you recognize this interface right here. So pretty much our normal interface. And down here, we have all of our previous inquiries. But right up here, we see all these GPTs, and maybe you don't have any stored in your sidebar. Maybe it just says GPTs and it's empty over here. So these are several different GPTs that I've built here for my daily uses at WSI. It helps other people do some of their jobs as well. When you hit this GPT, you come over here and it's almost like the App Store, right? There's all of these different things that people have created, whether it's research, productivity, creating images, writing code. It's all here, which is really cool. And you can go through and explore some of these and how cool they are. And they work with a lot of different software. I clicked up there on my GPTs and you'll see all the ones that I've created here. So we're going to start off with our handbook genie. And I'm going to show you this. So this is the one that we already have built. And I'm going to show you this working one right now. I want to know what the internet policy is. And all it's doing is going into our handbook that we've trained it with and finding the information that it needs to present a nice answer. It's outlined in section 11 of the handbook. Acceptable uses, unacceptable use. All the entire internet policy is right here. The answers are based. I don't know how our PTO works. How does PTO work here? I just started. I already need to take a vacation. Section 6 of the handbook. So when you get hired, you get 3 weeks of PTO. Nice. Year 5 to year 10, 4 weeks of PTO, and after year 10, unlimited PTO. So carryovers, all that information is right here. So this is a working unit, and we could share this right here. See up in the top right, we have a share button, and this can be shared with a link. And now we have this link, and we can send that out to anybody on our team to say, hey, if you have any questions about the handbook, please just click on this link right here. Maybe we put the link in the portal. Maybe we put a button on our website and hyperlink it. Obviously, they'll have to log into ChatGPT, but paid or free, they can still use these tools. So how did we build this? And I'm going to go through this one pretty quick because it's really simple. But if you come down here into the edit button, uh, we see the menu to create this. We have a name, we have a description of what it does, and then we have instructions. And this is like a prompt, right? There are two different ways to do this. You can just come over here to create when you're making a GPT, and essentially when you're in that GPT menu, just make a GPT, create GPT, and you can just type in a prompt. I want to create something that answers questions from our handbook, and you can attach it right here, and it would probably do a pretty good job. And if it wasn't, you could go back and tweak it, say it's not doing this or it's doing that. But over here on this configure tab, next to create, we actually have a little bit more control. We can create a way to start the process. We can upload a knowledge base right into our assistant right here. And this is what we have. This is our WSI handbook. We've just given it an upload of a PDF, and that's it. We've turned off all of these because we don't want it to go out to the web. We don't need to rewrite anything. We don't need it to make images. And we don't need it to interpret code or data. So we just have the handbook in here, and that's it. All we did was upload a file like we would off of our hard drive. As you can see here, we would just upload a PDF. We'd stick it right there, and we would type out our instructions. But these instructions, if you want to see them, I mean, they can be, this is pretty robust, right? And it sounds like somebody smart typed it. It wasn't me. I can promise you that. It wasn't me. But, and that's kind of a big pro tip we'll talk about, but if you don't know how to configure it, what do? We ask our ChatGPT or our Gemini or whatever our program is to say, how would you configure a handbook, Genie, that would use a knowledge-based PDF of our handbook to answer questions? And essentially, we just see here how it's going to create it, sets up a model, it writes its own information, make sure it adheres to employment regulations. We're here in Michigan, so we certainly have some things here. But long story short, if it doesn't have an answer, it just falls back to an answer. It says, go please speak to Tracy in HR for clarification. And this is our configuration. And we had ChatGPT write that for us, and we just pasted it in, and we're ready to go. And that's it. We gave it a PDF, and we told it what to do. And frankly, it can almost figure it out without our help. But either way, pretty solid. So again, in ChatGPT, they're called GPTs because they have a GPT store. It says View GPT here. That's what they're called in ChatGPT. But if we go to Google Gemini, which is right here, we have this brilliant new Gemini 2.5. And I just want to take 5 seconds to talk about Gemini. And Google has come so far in the AI space over the last several months that if you haven't started using Google Gemini for various different tasks, you certainly are missing out. They're keeping up. I give them huge credit. So again, it's kind of the same chat window that we see for ChatGPT, right? We can just write a prompt in here. We can use deep research canvas, which is kind of cool. But over here, we just see explore gems, and this is cool. So we just hit explore gems, and it's kind of like the GPT store we just saw over on OpenAI. And we've created a handbook wizard here the same way. We just create a new gem, give your gem a name. We call it the handbook wizards. And then we would give it a prompt like, answer questions people might have about working here at WSI. And we could certainly make that much more robust. We could copy the prompt over from the other program as well. And we need a knowledge base, right? So we would hit that upload files or upload it from our Google Drive and come down here and find our handbook. We've attached it and it's got it all digested. We're going to save it, start chat, and just to make sure it works right, what is PTO policy? Same thing. On hire, 3 weeks a year, 5 years and beyond, 4 weeks a year, 10 years over, unlimited. So it's doing the same thing. They both work the same way. And a lot of these programs, again, um, kind of all follow the thing. You train it with what the information you want, tell it what you want it to do, and it performs an automated task. So if that's something you have to do over and over and over again, this is how you do it. And this can be applied to a number of situations. One of the things I want to talk about in a couple of pro tips. First of all, um, add security to your assistant, right? These are some things where people have been able to take an assistant and tell it to do things that it's not programmed to do, and essentially trick the assistant into performing tasks it's not supposed to do. There's a lot of different things. In fact, a recent study at Cornell found that many GPTs and assistants are kind of susceptible to security attacks. So at the end of today's slide deck, and when this gets emailed out to you, the last slide of the deck is going to have a link to all of the goodies we're going to show you today, the prompts, the tools that we're using, as well as some great security prompts that you can add to your prompts as well to make sure that it doesn't deviate from the task that it's supposed to do. And again, I just told you a few minutes ago, if you don't have to write your own configurations, you can use ChatGPT or Google or Claude to help you write thorough and easy to understand instructions for your custom assistant. So that is number one. We're moving along very well. We've got one done and it's 2:17. So let's keep moving here today. Again, if you have chat questions for the webinar today, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them here in just a few. So as we're building assistants today inside these programs, we're going to talk about our new one, the Exit Interview Analyzer. And our scenario, we have this huge company, the ABC glue company, and we turn over a lot of employees. We got thousands of people working here at ABC Glue, right? We turn over 100 employees or more a month. And, this happens every month. We have to build a report. We have to analyze all the data because we send these 100 employees a form that says, the exit interview form says, what did you like about working here? What did you not like? How would you rate this on a scale of 1 to 5? And we send them this form. You know how it is when you send a form. And it all comes back compressed into a spreadsheet, which is awesome. But we have a lot of data to analyze and try to figure out what the real story is. So today we're going to build something that's going to help evaluate our monthly exit interview data and see what common issues are being expressed by the people who lead the ABC company, where we make lots and lots of glue. We'll see if, and maybe we'll even get some charts and graphs to explain the data, but no promises today. So we need to get the sheet with all the exit survey results, and we're going to submit that to an assistant to create a report. And we're going to have our report modified if we need to, and then we're going to export it. So pretty simple stuff. Let's bump out over here. And for the remainder of today's webinar, I'm just going to use ChatGPT because I'm a OpenAI homer. It is how it is, but just comfortable here. So I'm going to show you, I've kind of, for cooking show purposes, right? I've kind of baked some of these already. So if we go to GPTs, and we could go to my GPT, or we could create a brand new GPT right here. So let's just assume we hit create. And here's our exit interview evaluator. And if you look at the configuration in here, we've named it, we've said what it does, and now we can read our instructions. Let me make that a little bigger for you. We're designed to evaluate exit responses, find insightful reports. Like we said, we want to produce a 150-word executive summary for the boss. And we want to make sure that we're handling things with discretion and how we're rating it. Plus, it wouldn't be the worst thing if we put our company logo on the report as well. And down here, we don't need to do much to it. We just gave it the logo. But if we wanted to give it even more specific instructions or a specific knowledge base to pull from to reference, like maybe we wanted to pull up last month's report, or maybe we wanted to pull up a year-to-year report or last year, we could certainly add that in here to have it compare month to month. So again, you can add your knowledge base here to have it work with. We've just got our ABC company logo there. We don't need image creation for this. Actually, I'm going to leave this here because if it does need to create graphs or charts, we want it to be able to do that. So I'm going to leave that there, but we don't need to go out on the web. We don't need to rewrite things in our canvas. And the action down here, that's a little more advanced. We're not going to get into that today. So I'm just going to hit update, and let's see how this guy works. And we prepared a sheet of exit data that we want to work with today. So if I can find that for us here today, it is called Exit Interview Responses Formatted. So instead of the names of our employees, which even though this is fictional information, the names of our employees, we want to pretend they're coded, right? So we can reference them. So that's not being out there. We have this spreadsheet full of all kinds of data. We have scores and numbers, and we have the number of years that people have worked here and what department they worked in and their comments and what they like, what they. So there's a lot of stuff to digest here, especially from this month's 100 employees. Actually, how many? We lost 101 employees this month. So good thing we hired 102. So I don't need to save that right now. I just wanted to show you what that sheet looks like. We need to evaluate this data. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that button right there. And I feel like I don't think you need to have a conversation starter, but for me, it always feels like the switch that I'm turning on the assistant, right? I hit this button and it all of a sudden it goes, oh yeah, I got to do all this stuff. It kind of kicks the protocol into order, right? So it's going to try to, it says, yeah, I'm going to upload a PDF. So I'm going to give it my data, which is, I think we had that over here in final. I do hope it was a CSV. It might, let's see what we got. Yeah, let's see what we have here. Okay, I think we might have this in an Excel spreadsheet. Let's see what happened. Okay, no, I was able to take that data. So it did a nice job with that. See how it brought everything in there. And now we see that uh, it's got its tasks, it knows what it's doing, sitting here rambling on to me about all the stuff it's going to do, kind of bragging. Yes, we know what you're going to do. By the way, a lot of GPTs will do this, be like, I'm going to do this for you. And my GPTs or my assistants, sometimes I go, you don't need to give me the play by play. I don't need it. Just I submit. If you have any questions, ask. If not, do the task. And so it looks like we have quantitative summary coming out of here. We have it adding and running through all the data that we uploaded here. Let's see. So this was, again, this is a look at our data. We have our employees, our tenure, what they voted on with culture, how they voted the wages here at ABC Company, where we make lots of glue. Looks like we need to do some work on the wages. But yeah, so we have all this data. It did a nice job of importing it. It's going through its whole regiment that we taught it to do. It's giving us some insights, gave us average scores. Looks like our wage is a little below average. Our benefits are solid, culture solid, work-life balance. Looks like we're a pretty average company all the way around. So it looks like everybody seems that we're yeah, pretty reasonable. Why did people leave? We've got that put in here. So all this information is just coming off of that spreadsheet, and we have an assistant who's able to read that every single month and do the same task over and over again. So we don't have to reprompt it or go back in every month because it's not giving us this result or this result or this result that we want and being inconsistent. So when it's all said and done, it's asking me, hey, do you want the PDF report? Yes, yes, I do. I want this PDF report. And again, these are tools that work well and you can do this. You can build this in Gemini, you can build this in ChatGPT. Again, you'll need a paid subscription to be able to construct these, but I highly encourage you to get out and start playing with it. This is that next big step. If you're using ChatGPT or LLM and you're maybe using some other software, creating your own tools now that are special to you to help you kind of improve your workflow, that is certainly a great skill to have. Looks like we're having some issues with PDF. Um, it doesn't like its M dashes. That sounds familiar. Somebody else who doesn't like M dashes. By the way, while we're waiting on this for just a second, that's like the big clue to give away your ChatGPT copy, right? Is ChatGPT is incessant about using M dashes, when they write. It's crazy that they didn't learn how to not use that, but it works. So, all right, here's our report. All perfectly ready to go. Fingers crossed. I don't know what it's going to make, to be honest with you. I'm hoping it's going to be good. Didn't put our logo in there. We can live with that for now. But what we're really looking for is the data. And if we wanted to, we could certainly copy this, put it into a Google spreadsheet or excuse me, a Google Sheet or a PDF or whatever format we really need to do that with it. Sad I didn't put the logo there. I have a whole logo created and everything. But we've got reports, right? We've got our average wage benefits and all these things scored out for us. We have common themes, most cited reasons for leaving, retirement, work-life balance, education, least likes. So some of the more repetitive responses are coming up, right? Clear communication. So glad to have moved on. See ya. So again, it's breaking down each element of the report. We've got an excellent executive summary here, or at least the basis of one to go on. Whether we want to copy this and put it somewhere else, or we want to just send this, we want to go back and tweak our instructions with our our AI assistant here. If we want to go back and correct the instructions, cool, we can do that. This is the ABC company's logo, by the way. I love it. He's because he's glued to the. Okay. Anyway, understand this one? Everybody good with this one? So this is kind of a cool way to, and you can do this in a lot of different examples, right? So how can you, uh, you know, use your assistant to be able to understand data in the way that you're trying to understand it so that you can present it the way you want to, right? I guess that's the way to say that. So we've been able to grab that sheet with the exit survey results. We've submitted it to our assistant to create the report, and we can either modify or export our report, which we'll just download it here, send it out to the boss, and we'll call it good. Since he doesn't have to give any big speech or see it, he's just wanting to read it. We don't need to really fancy it up. So anyway, boom, just like that. We've created a handbook genie, a handbook assistant. We've created now an assistant that's able to analyze data and figure out why people are leaving our company, which is really cool. So that being said, we're 2 down. We're doing really well on time. We're right about 2:27. So let's keep rolling with our automate the boring building assistance today. No code yet. Today, we're going to talk about benefits comparisons. If you were with us on our last webinar, we did sort of an HR role with Google Notebook where we had 3 PDFs sent to us from 3 different insurance companies, and we really didn't know which one was going to be the best for our company. And essentially, we used Google Notebook to kind of ask questions of the documents, figure out which one might work. Well, guess what? Good news is we've decided to go with the Data Boy insurance plans, silver premium tier. And we've opted to switch our insurance company for 2026 here at ABC Company, where we make glue. Data Boy Insurance is our new provider starting next year. Now, they offer several types of plans for our employees, and we want to have a tool where each employee, not us, but our employees can go on, kind of like the handbook tool, right? A link that they could just go to when they have questions about what plan may work best for them and their family. So today, excuse me, back that up. We're going to jump into creating an assistant that's going to be able to evaluate the plans. And so, again, we'll back over here to ChatGPT. Here we go. And I've got, again, kind of this thing already started and cooked, and I want to walk you through it. Again, we would just go to GPTs, create, and when you create, you get this blank screen right here that we've just seen, right? Now, like I said, for cookie purposes, I've got this already uh, put together. And like I said, I've got all kinds of wild ones. And sometimes when we have anniversaries here, I got to make a LinkedIn post. You got to think of something nice to say about somebody who's worked here for a long time or what's great about them. And so sometimes I just say, here's our anniversary. I need help. Bill's been here 8 years. He runs marketing, manager, super good at making us look clean and polished. Dresses as Santa at Christmas. And this particular assistant right here just writes the message for us. I don't have to think about it. I just copy, paste it, move over to LinkedIn, and I have no typos, thankfully, no errors or anything like that. So, and we have a pretty nice message because the tool knows what it's supposed to do. So again, we'll bounce back over here. Like I said, just random things that you can put together, based on just certain things that you're doing every day. And so, like I said, the big thing is to understand how to create these, how to train these GPTs or these gems or whichever program you're using to do the tasks that you're looking to do. So let's say we have this insurance benefit analyzer. Let's go to our configuration screen here. We named it. We said, let's get coverage for you. And essentially what we did was we just copied the plans and told it to evaluate, ask these questions. How many dependents do you have? How old are your dependents? How many people in your family are going to be covered? What's the other thing we have? Do you have chronic conditions if you want to talk about them? You don't need to tell us, but do you have chronic conditions? How many prescriptions do you take? All of these little things, what kind of coverages are you looking for? So it's going to ask us questions back and forth. And this is kind of the fun thing about these is that not only do they perform tasks, but they can, again, understand context and they can interact with us to give us the results we want. And so again, we have conversation starters, and then down here is our Data Boy Silver tier package, and the Data Boy insurance tier. I think this might be the one right here. That's the PowerPoint. Apologies. Yeah, actually, we can show you this one anyway. That's fine. It's in PowerPoint, but I think used to. So this is the tier, right? It just tells us some of the benefit snapshots, and then we have our plan A, which is the core care. We have the plan B, and we have the plan C, and it talks about what each one does. And so that's the information that we just gave this assistant here in OpenAI's ChatGPT to live from or to learn from, right? So this is what it's going to compare based on the questions it asks us, and then it's going to run the data against that insurance plan and give us a suggestion. We have these turned on. I don't necessarily know if we need to. I will leave them on for now, but they can slow your they can alter things. If you don't need it to go to the web, then we don't need to go to the web, right? If we don't need it to rewrite things, we could turn that off. If we wanted to make an image or a graph or a chart, might leave that on. If we wanted to understand data, we're going to leave that on. So I'm going to keep those there. I'm just going to hit update. So again, we've given it the information it needs to know to make answers, and then we've given it instructions on what it needs to do when we interact with it. So here's our insurance benefit analyzer. I'm a father of two daughters. I need to get coverage. So first thing it does is explains each policy to me, the core care HMO, the Flex Plus PPO, and the Saver HD high deductible HSA, which everyone seems to be pushing these days. So how many people are going to be covered under the plan? We'll call it three, me and my daughters. Family plan, good. How often do we go to the doctor in a year? Two preventative each. Sorry about my typing. Two preventative each, one specialist each per year. And if we didn't even know, it would certainly be able to work with that. Probably providing too much personal information, but that's fine. And probably one extra visit a year when we're sick. Pretty normal stuff. Got it. So three people, two regular preventative cares, all covered. Awesome. Specialty visits, sick visits, primary care specialist again. Good old insurance stuff. Do we have any medications? Yes, I do have medications. Two for me, two for my daughter. Generic. All of them are generic. No tier one, no tier two threes. So now it's holding on to this information and starting to analyze it against the plans. So let's estimate our annual costs. Now, again, this is a link we could send out to people's emails. We could build a button on our website that would take people here. We could, find different ways to get this information to people's hands or email it out to people, right? Plan A talks about what we're going to spend. We get paid 12 months a year on a salary, so it'd be 300 bucks a month. That's nice insurance. Annual cost, 4,200 bucks. Cool. Plan B, same thing, more premiums, what it covers, total cost. Plan C, same thing, premiums. Obviously, the contributions are going to be less. So what are we doing? Well, based on the information that our agent, or excuse me, our assistant has, Plan C offers the net lowest cost for our situation, roughly $2,000 a year when we factor in our contributions. Now it's low, and there are some things that will draw back a lot of out-of-pocket expenses up front first, but the low premiums certainly make it a great value. So would I like a downloadable PDF? Yes, I need to discuss with my kids because they pay the bills. They don't pay for anything. It's not true. I got to be honest with you. My daughter worked her first job the other night with me. She made a couple $100, and before we even got home, she had bought herself an Apple Watch. So 14 years old, that's the it's a good lesson. Work hard, go buy yourself stuff you like. Here's our PDF. Coolio. Let's see what we got. There we go. Household details. It broke down the plans, basically everything that happened in the chat. It just gave us a recommendation for it right here on the document that we can print out, take home, email to ourselves, whatever we need. So works pretty straightforward. We could dress that document up. We could have it ask certain specific questions if we wanted to. We could upload a list. Maybe it wants to ask 25 questions. We could upload that list of questions, say, ask these 25 questions before you calculate your response. We could put multiple plans up. We could, whatever knowledge base we wanted, just like I said, it'll be able to analyze our context and figure out what we want. But this would be a great tool to use, like I said, for your employees. You're changing plans, or a lot of times, even people like me who've been buying insurance, I don't know, for 30 something years, I don't necessarily understand out of pocket costs, deductibles, how all that works, why I got to pay insurance. Don't even get me started. So sometimes something that helps explain this to me. For example, I don't understand deductibles. If I'm paying premiums, right? That's something I always go. I'm like, well, if I'm paying premiums, why do I have to pay deductibles? See, it confuses a lot of people. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. So I get an explanation, right? And an example, which is really, really cool from this thing. So again, really helpful tool. I think a lot of people could benefit from something like that. And so if you're switching plans, you just need people to help understand those plans a little better. So be it. All right, so let's take a look at our clock. 2:36. We're in great shape. This one, this one's going to be a lot. So I want you to not get overwhelmed before we start. It's a disclaimer, don't get overwhelmed by this, but I'm going to disclaim by telling you that the next skill that we're going to show you may be a little much for you now, but with a little bit of practice, some tenacity, some trial and error, I promise you, this is going to be a skill that is going to make you a complete force in your operation. So the executive team, they can't handle data, right? The eyes roll in the back of their heads when they look at spreadsheets. So we need a way to kind of make this attractive for them, right? They like colored pictures and they like, things really simply explained to them. And they got a lot going on. I get that. So we want to make sure we give them the best data to help them make the best decisions. And so today we're going to configure an assistant to determine the content of our spreadsheet exactly. Like we don't even know what we're supposed to display or how to do it. The second thing we'll do is we'll use ChatGPT to write the code for us. But Mark, you said these was no code. Yes, I know. We are not writing the code. Um, but to level up, you're going to have to know where code goes when it's generated for you. And that's what we're going to show you in this short example today. But I want you to get comfortable with that because you don't have to be technical, right? Most of these places, sometimes if you ever installed like a Facebook or a Google cookie, maybe in your website right there in the header, they say, hey, put this line of code in the header. That wasn't so hard, right? We don't have to understand anything about the code. We don't know what it does or anything. All we need to know is does it work and where do I put it and how do I save it? And so that's all I want to work with you today is because we're going to we know these tools write code, but how does that normally apply to us, people who don't write code, people who don't do any kind of computer science things? So that's going to be the first thing. And then we're going to show you where to put that code in our Google Sheet. We're going to be working at Google today for this via something called app scripts. And so this was specifically for those using Google today. But I do want to make a point that the same practice can be used to create pivot tables, to create formulas if you're just working in Microsoft Excel all the time, whatever it is you might be working in. Write a formula, write a program, write a macro, any of these kind of things that you have this imagination to do. Ask your LLM or ask your assistant if they can do that. So today we're going to show you a dashboard of boring spreadsheet information. We're going to see if we can kind of fancy it up just a little bit. We're going to deploy that and correct it if necessary. So as we jump in, we have the same thing here. We would go to GPT, create a GPT. And again, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I've got one started here. So this is a coder and it creates interactive dashboards from Google Sheets using an apps script. And I'll show you what that is in a moment. So we use ChatGPT to write the configuration because we are not that clever. We could, but honestly, it would just drain us to have to think about all this stuff. So it has instructions, it has its names, it knows what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to analyze sheets, determine the most important metrics of that sheet, and then come up with ideas on how to lay it out, make it intuitive and make it attractive, and then write code. And it's going to have to write us two pieces of code, and we're going to put those in very strategic places. That's all we have to do is copy and paste the code somewhere in a Google Sheet. I'm going to show you how to do that. So it's got all these other things it can do here. It's just telling, hey, if you want to do some stuff, make it pretty, do all this. That's all the rest of this information. So we don't have to worry about too much of those details. But again, the main point is to understand that you should use an LLM to run this, to write your code if you need to. So where did that one go? Here it is. So today, let's look at, we have this sheet right here. It's called Financials Consolidated. Sounds very spreadsheety. And it looks like we have The monthly gross profit, we've got our budget, we've got our actual numbers for January. So our monthly budget is this, our January budget was this, our February budget was this, very, very simple data. But what we want to do is display this so that it looks good. So um, I have this sheet right here. And the one thing I want to do is I want to give it to my assistant. So I'm going to download a quick CSV of this Google Sheet file. And you could certainly, like I said, give it to, tell if you're working in a different program, right? And see if it can provide something for you. So here in the downloads, we have financial consolidated monthly budget versus actual. So all it knows is that it's supposed to create an interactive dashboard from a Google Sheet, and it doesn't know anything else. Automatically, it digests our CSV and gives us all of our information right there that we could work with. Very nice. Here it's starting to brag, tell us all the things it can do, and it's going to ask me some questions here. Do you want a single dashboard with KPIs, tabbed views, any columns, metrics? Prioritize if we're over budget, and tabbed views are good, and single dashboard is perfect. So I don't know if those are the real answers or not, but again, all of its braggadociousness. Here's the things I'm going to do to you. It's very good at communicating. Watching our time here. Try to see if we can't knock this out in the next 3 to 4 minutes here. So you can see right here, generating code now. Well, let's go back to our sheet real quick while we're waiting on that. Any kind of Google program, Google Slides, Google Sheets. If you come up here to extensions on your menu bar, down here you see this thing. This is called App Script. And this is essentially where you would paste the code. Okay, and obviously we're going to send out a recording of this a webinar later, but so if you can take the notes now. But this is where I want you to play around with. This is something you take a spreadsheet that you can mess around with and come in here to App Script. And while we let that load up, we're just going to get a little code here. But while we're doing that, we're going to bounce back over here and see what. Oh, look at all the code it wrote us. I don't know what any of that means. I don't care what it means. I just need it to work. And then I have this stuff, index, front end. So it looks like one of these codes is going to do the stuff in the back end, all the thinking, and this is the code that's going to display it for us, right? So we have two pieces of code we have to paste. Again, I don't care what any of this says. In fact, I just want just a GS and a index. It's getting really extensive with some of the things because it wants to create, it can create very robust and interactive spreadsheets. And with buttons and tabs and pull down menus. And that's one of the things that you'll need to experiment. We're going to create something extremely basic today. But these things can get really, really fun over time. And I always bring up this one because this is kind of fun for me. I have a fantasy film league, and we basically bet on movies all year, right? So we have our spreadsheet here that we keep track of how the box office rolls every single month. And what I love about this thing is just a spreadsheet. The numbers come in here actually automatically, which is kind of cool. I've set it up, but you can see, hey, I'm winning the league because I'm amazing, 4th year in a row. But this is just boring spreadsheet stuff with some highlights. But if I come in here to this view the dashboard, which is what we've created, you can see an example of what it'll do for our. All this is doing is just reading that data off that spreadsheet, and it creates this beautiful dashboard straight from our data. So again, look at me, one. But and then I've been instructed on how to bring our movies through and click through that. This was a lot of trial and error. I don't like this. I do like this. I want it to do this. It's not doing this. And so again, that's one example of it. Here's our code. Looks like it's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy. And if I come over here to our generator, all we do is add a plus and paste it in. That's all we're going to do. So here's what you're going to see when you first come in, right? Like you would see this. Um, yes. So you would just hit this plus button and code. And all we're going to do is paste in That right there. That's the stuff we just copied. We pasted it in. We're back over here to GPT. There's our index file. We'll copy that. Same thing. Come over here, create a file called index because it's telling us over here, if you call this index. And if I didn't know, what do I do with this information? Ask. I'm finding myself doing things on command lines and using Python and other programs that I have no clue what I'm doing. But I keep asking, what do I do with this code? And look at this. Step-by-step instructions. Okay. When you don't know how to do something or something's overwhelming, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do that. Try to get into that project mindset of doing it first. And so I know that I come over here and I write this in and I'm in good shape. I've got these codes here. All I did was copy them and paste them. I do need to make sure that this is actually called code with a C. Please. I know in the olden days we didn't talk about capitalization much or case sensitivity much, but that's it. So all I did was paste those two pieces in. I have code and index, two files right here, and I'm just going to hit run with my sticky mouse, and it says, okay, cool. It ran it. We didn't have any errors. And then I'm going to hit this big deploy button right here, and it's just going to ask me what I want to name it. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But again, we're using AI to write us code. We don't care what it says. We don't know necessarily what it means. We just need to know where to paste it in a Google document. And so it's loading up that deployment. It looks a little intimidating. I'm not sure why it's taking so long. It shouldn't take that long. Interesting. Would you do? Let's try it again. We just got hung up on something there. Usually just give us a link right here, just a regular hyperlink that we can use, and we could, you know, put that in a variety of places. Looks like we're having some problems with the point. We're going to let that sit there for just a second because I wonder why that's not quite functional. But I'm going to try one more thing real quick here. Let's see if I can pick this. Never mind what I'm doing here. I'm just going to try to make something work a little easier. I think maybe it's reading them backwards. Just so I'll paste that as HTML. Index. Right. And all I'm doing is just coming in here and pasting in the code. I don't know anything about it. I just pasted it in there like it told me to do it. Run it. Try to deploy it one more time here, see if I can get something to deploy. If not, I have an extra sheet that already has this kind of setup. We can go in there. Sort of like Martha Stewart. She's already got a pie in the oven, ready to pull out. All right. That's fun. Let's see here. I'm gonna show you what we got here. Well, still running the deployment. Well, I'm glad I got to show you the other one here. Let's try to come back here for just a moment. I'm not giving up. I've got 10 minutes here, so fortunately we're in pretty good shape. Google Sheets dashboard. So I'm looking for. Yeah. Apologies here. Still, I want that thing to deploy over here. Try it one more time here. If not, I'm going to go and regenerate the code. In fact, this is actually a pretty good example of something that's not working. So let me show you exactly what we can do here. It's not working. Please regenerate the code in index and make sure it's working. So, and this is going to be a process you get into where things may not work or it may not look right or nothing will display. Sometimes this is all part of the process. So again, trial and error is one of these things, but once you build a tool that can do these things for you repeatedly, that's where you're going to save your time moving forward. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time to build these, but I know we got to get moving on it. So I want to come back over here. Again, to our extensions. I'm going to close that code. We're just pasting it as is and saving it, hitting that little button right there. And our index file, we're just going to copy that. And again, same thing. We have an index file over here. Paste it. And also, too, the cool thing is that in our links at the end of today's presentation, it's going to ask for my permissions to get into my Google folder. That's fine. At the end of today's presentation, there's a slide with links and prompts, and also links to YouTube videos that will help you with this as well. So if you're having trouble or you're still trying to figure out how to get these deployments to work, please do so. It looks like we're really struggling today. This may be actually a Google thing trying to launch a script. I don't see why we're having such issues today. So I'm going to go ahead and move on while that cooks over there. I feel like something's a little bit up today. And just go back and say, it's trying to deploy, just sitting there. So we can do things like debug and show dashboard. All right, well, I'm going to move on. I apologize for that, and I know that I'll include a spreadsheet that'll have that on there with a big button on there. But I know that it's glad to show you the other one, how we can take a sheet, add that script in there, and then hit the deploy button and be able to see a final project.
All right, so that ran, and normally it might give you like a hyperlink right there from the deploy button, but this one actually is something crazy, and it's part of the code, and so sometimes it asks you if it wants to be its own standalone thing, but this one just added another tab right here to the top. It added a little tab called Financial Dashboard, so we can always look at our spreadsheet. And kind of like you just saw with the with our fantasy film league dashboard, right? It just had a button there. Same thing right here, open dashboard. And we can see that our information is running the script. Boom, there it is. We've got charts, got gross profit. It looks like we're hanging in there. Net profit, actual versus budget, hours billed, summary tables. We've got a little dashboard here now, and we're displaying our information. It's not a boring spreadsheet anymore. There's visuals to it, and maybe this isn't the way you want it to look. Maybe you want it to be line graphs, or you want it to be pie charts. You can go back into your tool and tell it, hey, I would like this to be blue and orange bar graphs. It'll regenerate the code for you. You just repeat the process, go back in, copy it, paste it back in. And like I said, it's kind of a cool little dashboard here. Just like I said, something right there on the spreadsheet that we can use. And so if you wanted to share this amongst your organization or whatnot, to say, hey, here's this week's financials, and people really just, it's too much information for them at once, they could always just click on the dashboard and it'll just, boom, explain the story right there for them. So kind of a cool little skill right there. Like I said, the biggest thing is building a dashboard is one thing, but I don't want you to be intimidated by code, because you don't have to write the code, okay? You just have to know where to put the code. And that's kind of what we did here with this extensions in AppScript. Or whether you're working at Microsoft, maybe you need formulas, maybe you need macros or pivot tables. Tell your software, or tell your LLM what software you're using. Tell it, I am here. And if you're stuck, hit your print screen button, paste it into your chat and say, here's what I'm seeing. Where do I go? I don't know anything about writing code for the most part, or where it's supposed to go. So sometimes I need that help. Like, what do I do now that you've written this entire website for me? Cool. You'll need to deploy it. Just ask questions. Get into that habit of saying, what's next? And really, one of the biggest things you can do is be curious, try to learn, find the new thing to do. But being able to create your own dashboard is going to be a great way to display information, not just dynamically, but visually, and that's the big thing, is telling stories with data. And this is a great way to be able to do that. Just build your own code, throw it in there, and let it display itself. So very cool. So we've done the handbook, we've done the exit interviews, we've done the benefits analysis. This was a little much, I will hand that to you, but this is nothing you can't handle with a little bit of time and a little bit of focus and a little bit of trial and error. And of course, you've been to our webinars before. You know that I've always got at least one more in my back pocket to show you as well. So this one isn't going to necessarily be an assistant, but I want to give you some exposure to something that could be transformative for you and your operation.
So, but before we go, I want to talk about the next step in your evolution, right? Like today you've understood, and I know that doing a Google script could be a lot with code, but once you get that pasted in there, you're going to be able to display data so much more dynamically than just showing a boring spreadsheet. So the final thing that we're going to do today, and I always have one extra in the pocket while we've got about 6 minutes left today, is what if you could do these things without having to be involved or outside of ChatGPT? And all I want to show you is what it is, and we'll save it for next time. But automation services are the penultimate stage of your AI development. If you can use ChatGPT and Google Notebook and maybe making videos, or you're creating tables, or you're analyzing data, or you're building these custom assistants now, the next stage, and this is the skill where the money is for your operation, for being just a power professional, is learning how to create these type of assistants and connect them to other programs in programs like make.com, N8N, and Zapier. These are services that are out there where you pay a monthly fee, maybe $10 a month, and you can connect all of your different software. And it's amazing how it does that. And real quick, I can just bump over here to make.com and show you how we kind of work it. And these are, they all kind of work the same, but essentially these programs all connect our normal everyday software, whether you're using Microsoft or you're using specific proprietary software, maybe it's accounting software, QuickBooks, doesn't matter. It has tons of abilities. And so you can connect, you can create a scenario where we might want to, you can just see some of these Google Drive, Google Sheets. You can have it go out on the web and find things. It can email you things. You can incorporate Chat GPT and one of these assistants in the background so that information you may send via form, via email, maybe something that just goes to your web, can go into a Chat GPT agent to make decisions from that. And that's where it really gets serious. But this is all a next step kind of situation. And it's not hard once you understand the basics of it. And so that's something I want to kind of put in your head, that if you really want to get out there and run with the big dogs, this is where it's at. And so I want you to kind of, if you feel adventurous, watch a few YouTube videos. We have some tied into the links again on the end of the slideshow today. We have a few of those for you to see and some links to check out. But I guarantee you, if you go down this rabbit hole, it is going to change your operation, and it very well could change your career as well. So that being said, we've got a few minutes left for questions. While I'm answering questions, if you have them in the chat right now, please put them in there. I'm still, like I said, I want to go back to this dashboard and be like, you're still not working, brother. I should have copied the code from yesterday. That would have been cool. So anyway, so if we have any questions, if you want to throw them in the chat, I'm certainly excited to see those. Anything that we can answer for you guys today. Doesn't seem like we're in there. Maybe I'm looking in the chat. In the Q&A. Not sure if we have anything in there. Cool. Or you can raise your hand if you have a question as well. So I don't see them coming across my screen, so that's good. Maybe you don't have questions today. Or you can even just chime in if you want to unmute yourself. But essentially, what I hope you took away from today's webinar was really understanding how to build a basic assistant, right? This is something that can repeat the same task over and over again. Upload a document or whatever knowledge base you need it to be, or give it that prompt and that configuration menu so it performs the same way every single time, whether you need it formatted a certain way or you want the order of operations to go ABC or BCA. That all happens in the configuration, but giving it the information it needs and telling it what it's supposed to do, and then being able to share that link among your team, your staff, or just keeping it right there in your own personal ChatGPT folder so that when you need it, you just click on it and it performs that task for you. that's really the biggest thing we want you to be able to take away today is automating the boring and building no code assistance. And when you're ready to start running, dashboards, certainly have it write code for you and ask you where can you put it. Those are important, right? Like that's kind of the next step is being able to understand where to put the things that it gives you. So, and then finally, I would love for you to start learning to how to build your own agent, right? And that's kind of where my level is now. Is I could spend 9 or 10 hours trying to build something that does a single task, but does it automatically. Like we generate reports that go out and search the entire internet for various jobs or various trends or things like that, creates entire reports all in the back end and delivers it to us automatically every single week because of those things that we've created in make.com. Or like I said, you can use N8N, which is also very good. Zapier is another service that does that as well. So again, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to send out this webinar. We've got a survey that's going to come out immediately after we're done as well. And I would love for you to be able to fill that out, give us feedback on what you like, what you don't like, what we could do better. And then also too, the slide deck will have on the back sheet today a link right here where you can go and check out the prompts we use, check out the tools we use, copy them, use them for yourself if you want to, and some great links on how to build some of these really cool tools, especially how to advance your skills as well. And those safety briefings as well, those things that can help enhance your GPT security. So that's all in there today. Again, thank you guys so much for attending. It's time, like I said, to move beyond just prompting, move beyond to using multiple tools and actually start beginning the slow walk to stacking all of these things and being able to do it yourself. This is the skill of the 21st century. I think people, especially as we see that white collar jobs are getting eliminated a lot more because of AI, being able to build the tools that's going to help improve your workflow is going to be really the key to success in the future as we move forward in the work world. So again, thank you guys very much for coming to today's WSI Automates Boring Building Assistance, and we'll see you at the next one down the road.